We are at that stage where the cloud security role has evolved over the years. What's up, everyone? If you have been looking at AI and what AI is doing in the world of cloud, this is the video for you. We have a 3-part series on covering big topics that are covering the space of AI and cloud security, the big intersection. And here I am in this video to cover with the first one, which is Code to Cloud to SOC. Now, you may have heard the Code to Cloud word already some years ago, but it kind of has transitioned a bit more. But in case you haven't, don't worry, I got you. So first up is code. Now, all of the code that is being written in AI is primarily written across different kind of functional models or LLM system, whether it's OpenAI, Gemini, Cloud, or whatever the system you're building. Primarily, what you're looking at from a code perspective is that you already have a set of data that you have collected for over the years, and you are figuring out, hey, how do I make this data using all this Chat GPT and Gemini and Cloud? How do I make this useful so my business can be more productive? Now, the AI application that you're building these days is using either the output that you have produced from all this transformation and ETL that you have done of the data that you've collected all these years using some kind of an OpenAI or another LLM system. That application could be a microservice, could be an API call, could be just a server that is running on a EC2 instance, which is Amazon, or a virtual machine in Azure, just trying to compute all the data that you have and making some sense of it as well. Different ways of developing different kinds of applications, but primarily that is the most simplest version of code that can exist in AI. Now, writing code is just the beginning. Now, a lot of this, as I've already pointed out, is on a server of some sort, which requires it to be an infrastructure. That's where the code to cloud piece comes in. All this code that you're producing, whether it's a microservice or an API, all of that gets deployed into something called the cloud, the public cloud in this most scenario, whether it's AWS, Azure, Google Cloud are the 3 more popular choices. But you may also have these third-party applications like managed LLM provided by OpenAI, Gemini, and Cloud as well. I did want to exclude them, but I would say in this context, now the reason this is all important is because in modern day applications, whether you're trying to build a security roadmap or you're trying to build up your skills for your next cybersecurity or cloud security role, that core piece primarily would be fitting into the application security side, where they're working with a lot of data, which is either transformed or ETL process that is going through. Maybe on the other side, where you have the storage of all this data that you produce as well. Now, cloud could help you on both ends. You could have the cloud as a storage location for both your endless collection of data that you've collected for all these years, as well as the new data that has been produced. Now, they would have their own security requirements that you need to look at. From an application side of the code that you're producing, you still want to look at pen testing, application security basics, which is where the CI/CD pipeline thing comes in. Now, you are using a CI/CD pipeline to deploy applications systematically, automatically, deploying that through a pipeline to have a deployment pipeline that you understand that you can deploy into each of your dev, test, and prod. CI/CD pipeline also includes you integrating security into it, which is where the cloud, the AppSec services like SCA, SAST, and DAST, all of those services kind of come together and provide you with a cloud environment to have your code being available to all the customers that you have been servicing all this while. Now, that was Code to Cloud, and that is so 2023. We have been doing this for applications for a while. The only difference now is that these applications seem to be AI applications instead of just a regular application that we were building, which may have had machine learning, but hey, now it's the Gen AI as a thing. Now that you have collected your data, used ETL to produce sensible data, created an application around that sensible data, which is the code part. Now you have deployed that code application into the cloud, where you can actually start servicing it to your customers who may be on the internet or maybe perhaps internal to your own organization. We are at that stage where the cloud security role has evolved over the years. Nowadays, the cloud security engineers are being asked to be working on long-term goals instead of, say, looking at something called the alerts from a CSPM, because it is an absolute waste of your talent sometimes, or maybe most of the CSPMs may give you false positive data, which means you have to go through and identify which out of all these alerts, even with the context, which one of these alerts makes sense to be raising with the team, how do you raise it, and what do you do about it? Now, that can be time consuming, but at the same time, it's valuable to have those patched as well. However, industry recognizes the efforts of a cloud security architect or engineer, and people in that profession is well spent doing things that are long-term, like building solutions that help people walk a paved path so security is on by default instead of going back and fixing them. Which brings me to the last part, which is SOC, S-O-C, or Security Operation Control. This is probably the most important thing that happens on the runtime, right at the end. Once you've deployed the AI application, someone needs to monitor them for security incidents. Now, the code part is primarily done through your DevSecOps, and there's a lot of things happening at that point. But once this code is in production, It's being available for customers. Perhaps some people are using it for nefarious purposes. They're trying to figure out if they can actually hack into it. That's where your security operation control team comes in. Security operation people are your first shield in recognizing anything which is immediate and triaging those issues so that they can get to the bottom of it very quickly without letting a malicious attacker on the internet have an advantage. And perhaps, God forbid, a data breach which you do not want, especially in the case of an AI project. You don't want to be the first one. But point being, the security operation teams have taken on that role to be that first layer of defense. They are the ones who are looking at your CSPMs, the CNAPPs, or the CWPP, or all of those alerts that have been created. By the way, if you don't know those definitions, I'll leave a link in the video over here, which you can identify and understand what these definitions are. I will also leave a term called CNAPP++. While you're in that sphere, you should just giggle out. But I digress. Coming back to the topic. Security operation teams are expected to now look into the cloud alerts as well. They have done an amazing job of looking at on-premise environments. Every alert that has been here, whether it's a false positive or an actual positive, they do definitely go down the rabbit hole and figure out, hey, is this something worthwhile? There are different levels to it as well. SOC level 1, level 2, level 3. All of these levels are being expected to know a bit more about cloud, because we are at that stage with cloud where there's a lot of known knowledge, and focus now is that, hey, we have data security challenges, they have long-term challenges that we're working through for all these AI applications that are being produced. So instead of focusing on, like, let me just be the firefighter and come out and go after all these alarms being raised by CNAPP and CSPM and all of that, that's being transitioned slowly over to the security operations team, and they are the ones who are now becoming that first layer of defense. So if it gets to a point where, say, level 1, level 2 identifies a vulnerability, misconfiguration in your cloud environment, they're able to get to it quickly, especially in the production environment. They obviously don't look at the development test. That's expected that the people who are building the AI application, the people who are working towards it, they are looking at those pieces, not these guys. With that said, I actually had a conversation with Amol Mathur from Palo Alto about this as well, because it's all good to just hand over this new environment to a security operation, but there are challenges.
Protecting an enterprise is now equally becoming as protecting the cloud, because organizations are largely in the public cloud, especially when they talk about their critical applications. So enterprise SOCs, few years back, the cloud used to be on the fringe. Enterprise SOCs didn't really understand cloud constructs, cloud technology. So when they had to do any kind of incident response or incident triage, they would either pull someone in who understood the cloud, or sort of try to log into different cloud tools to understand, hey, what exactly is going on. So what we realize is that to truly get a handle on threat detection, incident response, incident management, bring that mean time down to sub-minutes, you need to natively understand cloud constructs and cloud technologies. So for example, there is an incident against a cloud workload. That alert shows up in your security operations platform. There are some containers, some identities involved. If you want to truly understand in a very rapid way that, for example, when was this identity created? What does this identity have access to? What is this workload? What is the criticality of it? What is running on that workload? Rather than calling someone who understands cloud or logging into another solution, imagine if you natively had all the context available. Go a step further and say, well, you don't even have to ask for the context, because AI and guided investigations is already telling you what the relevant context should be that you should be asking for. That's the journey that we are envisioning, so that from a threat detection and incident response and secure operation standpoint, it's all natively integrated.
I kind of agree with what Amol said. There is a knowledge gap. We are at the situation where we have highly skilled people on on-premise information and how to triage issues on on-premise, but not enough information on how to do an incident response in cloud. What do you do when there is an incident requirement? Can I do some automation? What does a false positive look like? What are the log sources like? Am I logging enough? There's so many questions that are unanswered and probably very different to how you as a blue team person may have looked at versus a security operation person looking at. My hope is, at least after watching this video, you are able to use this information to either talk to your security operations teams to see if you can help them upskill themselves in the world of cloud. They don't need to be cloud security experts, but at least just know enough that they can be dangerous to investigate issues. Is there automation that your cloud security engineers could be working on to assist your security operations people in triaging issues quickly, separating all the issues that perhaps may be false positive through a general broad category? That's where you might be able to find your effort. Like, cloud security engineers these days are doing that already, and they perhaps are the proactive layer, and security operations become that first layer for any alarms that are coming off. They're the ones who are looking at it. That's the code to cloud to SOC journey that is going on in 2024 as we are building more AI applications in the cloud. If that is something that you're seeing as well, I would love to hear from you in the comment section. If you're seeing anything different, I would love to hear as well, because is this a pattern that I'm the only one seeing, or is there another department in your organization that is getting all the juicy AI applications that people should look at? As I said, this is a 3-part series. Make sure you subscribe and follow all our socials so you get notified when the next part of the series, Cloud Security in the AI World, comes out. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you have any comments or questions that I can answer for the AI security in the world of cloud, definitely leave that as a comment as well. I'll see you next video. Peace.